During one of my virtual study groups with my MBA students, one of the questions came up was, how do you actually make sure that there is room to make digital transformation, that there is room to do innovation in the insurance company? I paused for a second and then I said, easy, get rid of the top management. Welcome back, I'm Fredrik. When you're looking at the environment, and especially in the insurance industry today, there is one profound challenge, and that is top management does not have the necessary knowledge to completely understand what's going on in the markets and how fast the markets are moving. And this can slow down decision making, and this can actually threat the future of the insurance company. And I'm not saying that the top management are ignorant or they don't know about it or they don't care about it, but there are a lot of reasons that makes this seem as a far distant problem for the top management. First of all, the development is something still that we are reading about. We're reading about insurtechs, we're reading about digital transformation, but not too many of our peers are actually doing it. So we are still focusing on our here and now problems. We are focusing on our cost management, our claims, our loss ratios, our reinsurance, our management, everything. And when we are focusing so much on this, we tend to not forget, but ignore the world around us because the others are not doing too much yet, so we probably don't have to do it either. This world outside the insurance industry is also very complex. Everything is happening at hyper speeds, and every day we're hearing about blockchain and new technologies. We are hearing about disruption. We are hearing about pay-per-use insurance. And if we start looking into doing this ourselves, it becomes complex, which is another thing that makes us maybe not spend too much time on it and start looking back at our reinsurance and our claims and our operations, because this also demands attention. And typically, in the industry today at least, not many management teams are having the luxury of having teams of people who actually knows what's going on and how to deal with it. So if you don't have the right people around you, it's also difficult to discuss, because who can you discuss what with? And at the end of the day, when you're looking at innovating in this sense in digital and digital transformation, it is a lot of money. It is a longer term investment, and we haven't seen any guarantees that this money will come back. So there are many, many reasons, and good reasons, that it's difficult for the top management of the insurance companies to actually make a decision and say, let's do it. Let's digital transform. Let's create a future insurer. It's expensive, it's difficult to understand. We won't be sure if we're doing the right things. We won't be sure in how fast we'll get our money back and how can we convince our shareholders, our board of directors. Better leave it, right? And of course, you know me. We shouldn't leave it. We have to do something about it. And this is what I'm going to talk about now. We're not going to get rid of the top management. Instead will look at how can we move on step by step and help the whole organization to understand that this is a change that's necessary, help them see the way. First of all, and this is the best possible opportunity, which is, I guess, also a little difficult, and this is to actually educate top management, to give them training in understanding what's going on in the world on a digital sense, in the environmental sense, on the platforms and the ecosystems. I think most of you know that I'm part of the world's first mini MBA in digital insurance, and we are having 100+ students already. And we can see that going through this education augments their understanding of what's going on. So they're getting new ammunition, so to speak, to go back home and explain and talk. This is what we need, and we need to do it now. So of course, the best thing you can do, send your top management, your managers through some kind of education in what's going on in the world and especially in the insurance industry. That's a longer term commitment in most cases, so it's not that realistic, unfortunately. An alternative to this is to create your own education program in the sense that you will slowly present small bits and pieces of what's going on in the world, maybe with a commentary saying this is something that we could do if we do it like this. And then over time, slowly change the understanding, slowly get the eyes opened at the top management that this is actually something we have to take serious and we have to act on. And then it would be very strategically wise of you if you at the same time have some suggestions to smaller projects that you can do. And this is where you should look at my other video on digital transformation and how to get that started. Because the second your management, they understand we have to do some things. If you can find one or more projects, small projects to start with, and digitize them, then you will also start showing your management that it's actually working, that you can create a profitable business case, and through that open the eyes for what is bound to happen in the industry. And of course, and this is not one of my favorites, but it works. You can also find negative examples of what's going on in the business, saying, look at that insurer, they lost all this because they couldn't deliver on that, which we can if we do these digital projects. It's a very negative way of trying to promote this. So I think if you do this, you should have a positive solution to how could you move on in the company and what would you do to make sure that it wouldn't happen for your company. At the end of the day, I believe it's all about having the right teams. Chances are that you have most of the right people somewhere in your organization today. So when you start doing these things, you should start understanding what kind of people do we have and start talking about digital transformation, start talking about the future, start talking about what's going on. And I guess that the people who have the same interest and knowledge as you, they will raise their hand and say, I'd like to talk with you about this, I'd like to know more. And slowly you could start to create a gathering of people, of believers, if you like, around you. If you work together to inform your managers, to inform the management, to create test projects about what you think needs to be done, and you make sure that the project that you're creating is all moving towards the same target, a digital transformation of the insurance company, then I believe you're on the right path. You will then instill enough confidence in management when they see now we've created a few smaller projects, they're all working. Let's take the next step. Let's take the next step. And this is the way that you transform an insurance company. I don't believe you do it overnight. I believe you do it step by step and by convincing the right people, by onboarding all your stakeholders. This is how you make it a success. Thank you very much for listening. Good luck. Stay safe. Goodbye.